Johnny Manziel took the college world by storm and earned the nickname of Johnny Football. Unfortunately, Manziel's success at the college level did not translate to the NFL. So what happened? Trying something new with this video, so let me know if I should do more videos like this by leaving a like, sharing, and subscribing to the channel, and letting me know who you want to see in the future. Johnny Manziel grew up in Tyler, Texas, but moved to Kerrville, Texas in 7th grade. Before Manziel, Kerrville, a town that is about an hour northwest of San Antonio, with a population of 22,347, was known as a tourist spot for a folk festival and a great place to retire. Now, it is known for being the home of Johnny Football. Manziel showed the potential he could be a great player from a young age. Todd Bach, the former mayor of Kerrville, told a story about a young Manziel in the Eagle. Bach said, "I'll never forget taking my family down to Antler Stadium on a Sunday in the summer of 2008. Unbeknownst to me, they were out there playing backyard football. I noticed a young man throwing, catching, and running. I stopped my workout and I sat there and watched this young kid. I was amazed. I told my wife, that is an incredible athlete. Come to find out, it was Johnny." Although football was Johnny's first love, he was also a fantastic baseball player. His high school baseball coach thought had he stuck with baseball, Manziel could have gone pro as a shortstop. In 8th grade, Manziel did not provoke the image of a future star, but he quickly became a starter his freshman year on varsity for Tivy High School as a wide receiver. Manziel would not start a game at quarterback until his sophomore year, where he played part-time. During his sophomore year, he threw for 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, while also rushing for 15 touchdowns on the ground. It was not until his junior year where Manziel would explode and preview future stardom. Manziel had a combined 55 total touchdowns and was named All-San Antonio Area Offensive Player of the Year and Texas MVP. At the time, he was being recruited heavily by Baylor, Colorado State, Iowa State, Oregon, Rice, and Stanford, along with Texas A&M. Manziel really put on a show his senior year. Fans would travel from Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio just to see him play. Manziel finished the season throwing for 3,609 yards, 44 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. That would be a crazy season on its own, but Manziel also added 1,674 yards and 30 touchdowns on the ground, while also catching a pass for a touchdown as a wide receiver. Manziel led his team to the playoffs and once again was named District MVP and San Antonio Express News Offensive Player of the Year. On top of that, Manziel was named Mr. Texas Football for the 2010 season. Manziel finished his high school career throwing for 7,626 yards and 76 touchdowns. Along with that, he had 4,045 rushing yards and 77 touchdowns on the ground. Manziel's stat sheet made him look like a star, but that did not translate to his recruitment. Even after his insane senior season, Manziel came in as a 3-star recruit according to 24/7 Sports Composite. He was the 13th ranked dual threat quarterback in his class, 62nd best player in Texas, and 374th ranked player nationally. 24/7 Sports' own rating had him ranked as a 4-star recruit, but they were the only service to do so. Manziel actually grew up a Texas Longhorns fan, but he never received an offer from them. There were rumors Mac Brown wanted Manziel as a defender, but those have since been squashed. Manziel originally committed to Oregon, but later changed his mind and decided to stay close to home and play at Texas A&M. My friend Scott Fisher did a video a while back on how things would have been different had Manziel kept his commitment to Oregon that I will link in the description below. When Manziel first got to Texas A&M, he would redshirt for the 2011 season. Going into 2012, first-year head coach Kevin Sumlin decided to name Manziel the starter. Johnny's first start would not end in a storybook fashion, as he only threw for 173 yards while completing 76.7% of his passes in a loss to Florida, 20-17. Manziel did have 60 rushing yards and a touchdown as well that game. Then Manziel would burst onto the scene. Over the next 5 games, Manziel threw for 1,487 yards and 14 touchdowns, while also rushing for 616 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground, and the Aggies went on a 5-game winning streak until they played the number 6 ranked LSU Tigers. A&M would lose 24-19 to the Tigers, and Manziel struggled, throwing for 276 yards and 3 interceptions. LSU also stopped him on the ground. Manziel bounced back in a 63-21 win over Auburn, where he would throw for 260 yards and 2 touchdowns, while also rushing for 90 yards and 3 more touchdowns. He exploded for over 400 total yards and 2 touchdowns against Mississippi State, completing 83.3% of his passes. Then Manziel and Texas A&M traveled to Tuscaloosa to play the #1 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Manziel put on a show, throwing for over 250 yards and 2 touchdowns while completing 77.4% of his passes and rushed for 92 yards on the ground, leading A&M to the win 29-24. After the game, Manziel became the frontrunner for multiple awards and developed the nickname Johnny Football. The Aggies would go on to win the rest of their games and beat Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl 41-13 to finish the season 11-2. According to Sports Reference, Manziel put up over 5,100 total yards and 47 total touchdowns. Manziel won a slew of awards, but the crowning achievement was when he became the first freshman to ever win the Heisman. During the offseason, Manziel developed a reputation for partying and got caught signing autographs for money in January of 2013. As a result, Manziel was suspended for the first half of A&M's opening game. Manziel improved on his passing numbers his sophomore year, throwing for 4,114 yards and 37 touchdowns, and saw a drop in his rushing yards, only having just over 750 yards and 9 touchdowns. He threw for over 400 yards 4 times, including a 464-yard, 5-touchdown, and 2-interception performance against Alabama, in which he also had 98 rushing yards on the ground, and a 454-yard, 4-touchdown, 2-interception day against Auburn, where he also had 48 yards and another touchdown on the ground. Both were losses, and A&M struggled this season, going 9-4, but beat Duke in the Chick-fil-A Bowl 52-48. Manziel finished 5th in the Heisman voting this year and believed he did all he could at Texas A&M and entered the NFL draft, foregoing his last 2 years of eligibility. Going into the 2014 NFL draft, people hate to admit this, but many draft experts projected Manziel going anywhere from pick 3 to 7, with the majority believing he'd go to the Browns at number 4. NFL.com's Charlie Casserly did not have him going in the first round, along with Roto World Sean King. Evan Silva had projected Manziel going 26th overall. Manziel would drop during the 2014 NFL draft, and many thought the Browns would take him at 8th after trading out of their 4th overall pick. But the Browns would take Justin Gilbert instead. As he continued to fall, many thought the Cowboys may take him at 16. Instead, the Cowboys took Notre Dame tackle Zach Martin. Many wondered who would take Manziel, and that is when Cleveland traded up with the Philadelphia Eagles and grabbed him at 22nd overall. At the time, people thought this was a steal by Cleveland. A Time article wrote, instead of taking Manziel with the 4th pick, they got a cornerback, an extra first round next year, and still wound up with Manziel later in the first round. Many thought Manziel would be able to compete for the starting job against Brian Hoyer right off the bat. Manziel's NFL career did not have a hot start, as he was fined $12,000 for flipping the bird during a preseason game. Injuries and poor play kept him off the field, and he would only start 2 games during his rookie year. The Browns would go 7-9, and Manziel went 0-2 as a starter, throwing for 175 yards and 2 interceptions. The following year, Manziel did not earn the starting quarterback job at the beginning of the season, but would take over after Josh McCown got hurt against the New York Jets. He flashed potential against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but was disappointing the rest of the season. Manziel threw for 7 touchdowns to 5 interceptions and went 2-4 as a starter. Manziel would be benched after posting a video of him partying in Houston during his bye week, but the final straw, according to Fanbuzz, came when Manziel traveled to Las Vegas despite having a concussion. The Browns finished the season 3-13 and fired the coaching staff, meaning there was no connections to save him for the 2016 season. The Browns decided to release Manziel after a domestic violence incident in February of 2016. Manziel's deal with Nike was also terminated in 2016. After only 2 full seasons in the NFL, the former Heisman Trophy winner was out of the league. Just over a year later, Manziel went to the Canadian Football League, where he signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Then he was traded to the Montreal Alouettes, where he struggled mightily and was released from the CFL completely in 2019 for a breach of contract. Manziel then signed with the Memphis Express of the AAF, but suffered a concussion during his second game, just a few days before the league shut down. Back in the fall, Manziel was asked about whether he was interested in playing in the XFL after The Rock purchased it, but Manziel said he was retired from football. Many thought they had seen the last of Manziel. That was until the end of December, when it was announced he would be playing in the Fan-Controlled Football League, a startup 7-on-7 organization. In this league, the fans will set the rosters and call plays in an interactive setting. Manziel, who was only 28, told ESPN, "The more I heard about what this was going to be, the more I felt it was going to be something that was just very fun. It's going to be a fan-oriented and something I could get behind without being extremely serious, the way that my football career has been in the past." Manziel will be playing for the team called the Zappers, according to the Los Angeles Times, and the league will begin in February. Manziel also told ESPN, "Life gives you opportunities sometimes to do something that you would still like to do if it was in a different capacity. This has a lot of potential to just be a good time and still be football-centric. It's crazy to think what could have been if Manziel had avoided the off-the-field issues. Who knows if Manziel will play in the XFL in 2022 or what he will do after this startup league." If you enjoyed this video, let me know who you want to see in future episodes. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, remember to embrace the grind.